one of the other meetings that happened today was at a banquet, or it was a large house from what we see. It's the meeting of President Tinubu with members-elect for the 10th National Assembly. This is in his own role as the leader of the party, APC, that will be the ruling party in the 10th National Assembly, in both chambers of the National Assembly, and is asking for their support for the endorsed and the favorite candidates of the party for the presiding officer's role. Let me allow you to listen to some of those who are at that meeting.
I believe the sky is the limit in terms of where we want to take our people who we represent in terms of governance of Nigeria. And you will all agree with me that we are at a point, at a very low ebb in our country. At a point where we need to start doing things differently. At a point where the next 4 years will either make or mar development in our country.
I spoke about tribe, how we should not focus on that, but that we should recognize that we are a secular state and we cannot talk about national cohesion, national unity, while ignoring the secularity of our nation. Therefore, every step taken in the formation of the government architecture for the next dispensation must incorporate these elements.
So you heard the chief of, well, he will soon become the chief of staff to the president, Honorable Femba Jabiemela, the Speaker of the House of Representatives in the 9th Assembly, and the favorite for the deputy speakership or position for the 10th National Assembly, Honorable Ben Kalu, who is the spokesperson of the 9th National Assembly in the Green Chambers. Let's get a perspective and let's know what really went down. I have one of the members-elect who was at the meeting, is a 7th member of the House of Representatives from Rivers State, a member of the PDP, Honorable Solomon Bob. He joins us live here in our studio. Thank you so much, Honorable, for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Sean. A pleasure to be here.
So you were at the villa today?
Yes, I was.
You met with the president?
Yes, I did.
So how did that go?
Well, I think it's an opportune time for me to see my take about what went down today. I'm not in the business of singing or high. How do you say? High service. But today I watched a president who showed competence. I was really inspired by his speech. I watched perhaps the most exhilarating or inspiring speech by a Nigerian president since I came of age watching politics. He covered all the matters or every field. The entire field. He spoke about unity. He spoke about politics being over and now to focus on governance. And the speech was extempore. He had no paper in his hand.
No paper?
No paper.
No prompter?
It was off the cuff, nothing. It was quite inspiring, the performance by the president. I was really inspired.
But this was a closed-down meeting. The press had been asked to go out.
At that time, yeah, the press had been asked to leave. But everybody who was there, had a positive take about what happened. He spoke, with authority, authority and a lot of confidence. He showed competence.
As an opposition lawmaker,
yeah.
Was he able to convince you, for you to see reason why, as an opposition lawmaker, you should align with the ruling party's stance on the leadership?
Well, let me just say this. I think there's a lot of mistake, and people deliberately go into misconstruction about what the role of opposition lawmakers is regarding choice of leadership of the chambers. Now, we are not the ruling party. I belong in the position. Our job is not to select or nominate or decide, who should preside. That is not my understanding of politics or parliamentary practice all over the world. And this is rule of thumb. Is
it in the standing rule of the House?
Yes, the standing rule is that we are all on the day we are going to vote. That's also Section 50 of the Constitution. We are all going to vote. But the ruling party has the prerogative, the privilege.
By convention, not by any law.
By convention, by rule of thumb. This is best global practice. If you watch the last U.S. election for House speakership, where Kevin McCarthy emerged, it was entirely a one-person thing. The 15 round of voting was entirely McCarthy running against himself. He had the backing of his party. He had the backing of
5 times. They went
times.
back and forth.
I think 15 times or thereabouts. Yeah. All this was about McCarthy running against himself. The party had made a choice. The only problem was the Freedom Caucus of the GOP wanted to extract commitments from McCarthy regarding some. They felt he wasn't conservative enough. When they made those commitments were made, that was it. The deal was done. So it's essentially the prerogative or the privilege of the party that has the numbers, that is the majority in the House, or whatever. I mean House now, I use it both House and Senate, to nominate. People say they zone to a person. That's a wrong interpretation or a wrong use of words. Nominated person, and they have a right, they have a choice to do that. It is their prerogative.
It's standard practice for you to,
all over the world, that's how it is. I said rule of thumb, or best parliamentary practice, that's how it is. That's how it is.
So the ruling party decide on who they want?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You see, we make a lot
just
of...
like we saw in Pelosi in the Democratic...
Let me just tell you, part of what my problem with this country is that we have a lot of dysfunction in the way we interpret things and the way we view things. We are too primordial and too... we ride on the crest of emotion to, misconstruct things and then, spin them on the basis of tribe, religion, and so on. If we were not a country that's riddled with dysfunction, Speaker Femi will still be Speaker today. It doesn't matter where the president comes from. In Ghana, for instance, what has happened to our new quest now for a new speaker? Wouldn't happen in any other country. If this was Ghana, for instance, don't go too far away. I'll give you an example next door. If this was Ghana, Femi will still be speaker today. I can assure you, because there are two different arms of government, and one's election does not have any consequence for the other one. Okay, it wouldn't have any consequence. But here, when somebody wins an election as president...
But Honorable, our country is slightly different. In some ways, you see the manner in which we have traveled, from the Civil War period up until now, we have not fully recovered from some of the issues that have bound us and sometimes divide us. Issues of religion, issues of ethnicity. It's too difficult for us to dissect away from who we are as a people. So you imagine that as largely divided Nigeria is along religious and ethnic lines, the chapter 2 of the Constitution also prescribed on how things have to be in terms of national cohesion and unity in this country for balancing, isn't it? Is that not a sensibility?
Yeah, I think that we tend to ascribe too much to these things you call balancing. And the constitution that we operate now, which in my view, I always say is a bad constitution, hasn't helped it because we duplicate and multiply several offices. Okay, and now we have, for instance, we have 2 substantive presiding officer positions, and we have 2 quasi-substantive presiding positions. Okay, people now presume that because there are 4, they have to go to different regions. Okay, so we are not we are not helping the unification or unifying potentials of a country by creating many offices where there should be 1 or 2. Create so many, and then on the basis of the existence of these offices, people now say, okay, they have to go to different areas as a way of unifying us. Have they helped in unifying effort? They haven't, because they now become instruments for polarization. Okay, for pulling apart. For basically pandering to sentiments of, tribe, zone, religion, and so on and so forth. So I haven't helped anything. If I were to, I think that the framers of the Constitution, current Constitution, made a mistake in creating, for instance, 2 very powerful presiding officer positions, Senate and House of Reps. Another claims where you have a bicameral legislature, one of them is stepped down. Usually the leader of the upper house is made insignificant. It's made insignificant and not really powerless. I can give you instances all over the world. So imbuing such office so a lot of strength and stamina, and power, giving rise to the situation where people request that, or request that they should go to different areas. the region must have this one must have that. For me, the creation of so many offices, in the legislative houses, okay, hasn't helped the cause for
so
unification.
We shouldn't have had a deputy speaker, for example. You should have been a speaker.
Well, this might sound controversial. If I were to be part of the framework of the Constitution, I think that we will not be having deputies to those positions, frankly.
Are you also one of those who believe that maybe two chambers are ineffective? Or?
I think we're given diversity and plurality. Maybe it's okay, but my point is that we shouldn't have too many powerful executive offices.
So let me, for instance, based on your argument,
yes,
Honorable,
yes.
You were saying that ethnicity and religion, as much as some of us believe that we shouldn't focus on them, so that it doesn't really affect, our progress as a people. But again, these are considerations that are made. And the framers of the Constitution know just how sensitive. When they created the NYC, there are reasons why this happened. And you imagine that at some point there could be a possibility that from number 1 to number 6, it will all just be one region of the country or one religion of the country. Would that help this country?
My point is that having these many offices, has only helped in intensifying the case for regional, appeasement. That's my point. Because if you didn't have so many, for instance, you have 1 or 2, we have 6 zones. The 6 zones can't ask for 1 or 2 things at the same time. So having so many offices means that all of them have to say, okay, we have to have that. For me, it's absolutely unnecessary. Unnecessary. And the point I made earlier about, no bicameral legislation in the entire world having 2 powerful presiding officer positions is valid as well. In other places, one will be stepped down. Usually the upper house will not have a prominent presiding officer position. It's only the lower house that will have that. You go to India, you have that. You go to the US, you have that. In the UK, you have that. So I think that we need to revisit some of our constitutional.
There seems to be the opposition coming from even within the APC about the manner in which the APC zoned and structured these offices. Why do you think this is happening?
Well, I think that the agitation for overriding their party's position might not be unconnected with, interests, zonal interests, ethnic interests, religious interests. So people are not looking at the entire picture. They're looking at what can benefit they themselves and the places where they come from, particularly. And my point is reinforced, my last point reinforced by what you just said now. If we didn't have so many offices, perhaps we would not have all this question for us to have this, have that and, disregard party position.
If you look at the manner in which the APC has zoned it, for example, one of the zones that feels left out is the North Central region. You look at the Senate presidency, South-South, the Deputy Senate President, North-West, the Speaker, North-West, and the Deputy Speaker, South-East. There are 2 zones there. There's one zone that has 2 positions. And North Central, do you think that the agitation of members from the North Central is something that the party is valid?
Well, I don't think so, because it's not the first time we've had a situation in which in one zone was left out of these positions. In the recent past, I don't think in the last 4 years of Buhari's administration, anybody from the Southeast occupied any of those positions. And I remember in the recent past too, there was a time when the Southeast had both the Senate President and Deputy Speaker. Okay? That automatically meant that one of the zones had been left out. So it's not a new thing. My point is that it is really fruitless, okay? Making hue and cry over things like this is totally fruitless. I don't support it. And
isn't this one of the reasons why people cry foul about the issue of marginalization? There was a time in the early days of President Buhari's administration that, there's a list of the security appointment, and those who believe that most of these appointments have come from one region of the country.
Yeah.
You think that kind of debate or that kind of questions on appointments or positions is not valid?
No. That's a different thing. Yeah, we have to respect, the fact that we are a federal system, a plural federal system, and as Section 14, requires, appointments must be made conscious of the fact that we're a diverse and plural, secular place. So what I'm saying, what I've said earlier, does not in any way suggest what you're trying to say. Now, the presiding other positions are elected positions. The ones you're referring to are appointive ones. The president, or whoever is at the center, has a duty to respect the tenets of Section 14 and ensure that his appointments reflects our federal character. But when you're talking about elected positions, the presiding positions in the House and the Senate, I don't think that there should be so much fuss about who gets elected. I don't think so. The party in power has a duty to give a lead. This is where we're going. This is who we think we are putting forward for this.
Do you think that the manner in which the APC had presented itself and its agenda is acceptable?
Well, that's for the party to decide. My point is, that is for party APC members to decide. My point is that it is their right. It's the right inherent in their being majority party in legislature. Okay,
but have they exercised the right in a way that meets the yearnings and aspiration and the real character of our nation?
How else would you
I'm asking you, you are a lawmaker.
Yeah, for me...
For example, would you be voting along the line of the APC?
Well, I think that what I'm going to say next, is already covered what I said before. That because it's their right to decide, who to put forward, who to nominate, as is, the best global practice all over the world. Whoever they put forward, I will vote for the person. Because,
is it because let me finish. Your principal?
No.
Former Governor Wike is aligned.
It has nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do with that. I just gave you a background to my understanding. Let me tell you, I study constitutions all over the world, not the Nigerian constitution. I've been to the U.S. Congress. I've been interacted with U.S. lawmakers. I know the practice. I know the rules everywhere. It is not our business to determine for APC who they should put forward. Now, the person who is a speaker or Senate president is only a presiding officer. I agree, they wield reasonable influence deciding what gets to the floor. Okay, but it's not the entire picture. They cannot, for instance, hold an entire house, captive and decide everything. So our job as lawmakers is to get up and focus on what we can do. Who becomes speaker or Senate president does not determine your degree of participation, your effectiveness, okay, on the floor.
Yeah, what really matters to Nigerians is, to a large extent, yes, whether fairness has been done, whether justice has been done in terms of those people who are there, are being appointed or being elected, yes, but what matters is what the lawmakers are doing that will affect the lives and the livelihood of the average Nigerian.
That's the point.
I'd like us to anchor on this note.
That's the point.
At that meeting today, was President Tinubu able to convince those who are in attendance today?
Yeah, if I judge by the response from those there, it was, like I said, his performance was exhilarating. The feedback right on the spot was fantastic. If I judge by the response he got, I would say that he convinced, nearly everybody.
There were no opposition. People didn't. There were no dissenting voice in the room.
No. There were no hisses, no heckling. Everything was fantastic. Now, let me just make these points. People have always, have tended to argue that, because the Constitution says in Section 50 that the Speaker or Senate President will be elected from amongst the members. That mathematically means that, the party has the ruling party that has all the numbers on the floor or in the House hasn't got responsibility to nominate anyone. That is not correct. I think that's a misconstruction of that section. My view is that that simply means that nobody would be Speaker or Senate President who is not a member of the House. It doesn't mean that anybody who's a member of the House can contest for those offices. No. To be able to contest, one, it must come from the majority party. Secondly, it must be ranking. That section simply means that if you're not a member of the House, you can't contest, as you have in the US, where a non-member of the Senate is Senate President, and you have in India a non-member of what they call the Raji Sabha, that's the upper house in India. A non-member of that house is the vice president of the country, who is the head of the Indian upper house. So the idea was to ensure, provision basically it will say that, look, in Nigeria, for you to be speaker or Senate President, you must be a member of the House, not to say that anybody in that house can contest.
Honorable Solomon Bob, a member of the House of Representatives, who also will be returning to the 10th National Assembly, representing Rivers State, a member of the PDP. Thanks so much indeed for your time tonight.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.